your diet, change your life, change the planet.
Hey, it's Tim Van Orden with Running Raw. I'm on an awesome run right now at Bish Falls State Park in southwestern Massachusetts. It's the highest single drop waterfall in Massachusetts. The water is like aqua blue, crystal clear, and it's just awesome. Beautiful trails, gorgeous old growth forests, and I'm in heaven. And as I'm running through the gorge, looking at all the falls and the river, it gets me thinking about the human mind and personality, character. One of the things that I think about, it's nothing like a summer breeze. Oh, that's awesome. The brain actually has physical topography. There are actually channels in the brain that form over time, neural networks, like an actual physical, like 3D surface. When we're children, our brains are not totally smooth, but they're much smoother than they are as adults. And over time, we start removing neurons, we start removing gray matter, and we condense the brain. We start out with all this possibility, all these neurons, and then we decide what's important. We decide who we are. We decide what our habits and patterns and habitual behaviors are going to be. And we create this three-dimensional landscape. We create these channels. And we keep working through those channels over and over and over again until we wear down the rock and wear down the rock until eventually we've got this gorge and the water rushes through and it's magnificent and beautiful and it crashes into this beautiful pool and we say, wow, that's incredible. Or we encounter a person and they crash into the room and suddenly everybody's like, wow, so-and-so's here, they're amazing, I love them. When they walk in the room, the whole world lights up. Everybody smiles. It's the same thing. Our identity, our personality, is nothing more than the habitual usage of a particular pathway to the point where we carve it so deeply that our life has no choice but to flow through it. Now, if you've created a really good personality, a really positive, powerful identity and character or channel, hey, that's awesome. You don't really have a lot of work to do. But so many of us, in fact, I think most of us, have created these channels that are not positive, that are not healthy. Our waterfalls end in this tumultuous crash of foam and chaos and broken logs and spinning basketballs and shopping carts and whatever else got thrown in there. And anybody that goes over those falls is not going to be hanging out having a good time. They're going to be broken on the rocks, shattered under the weight of all of it. And we've created this channel, and our life has no choice but to flow through it because we've kept working at it and working at it until it got so deep that it's hard to create the alternative. It's hard to find another path. See, you look at the waterfall and it's a waterfall. And if you turn away and look back, it's the same waterfall. And if you leave and come back a month later, it's the same waterfall. But you're never looking at the same water. Although it appears the same, it's always different water. It's simply a container. The waterfall is just a channel, it's simply a container, and the water flows through it. Just like us. Life flows through us. We have this illusion of this permanent identity, of this permanent character or personality. It's just me. Take it or leave it. If you don't like who I am, screw off. No, that's not who you are. That's just the channel that life is flowing through. It's always changing. Life is always moving through us. There's always new opportunity. There's always new water. There's always new possibility coming into our life. The only reason that bad things happen is that we create these channels that flow in negative directions. We create these chasms that end in waterfalls that end up crushing us rather than inspiring us and cooling us on a hot summer day. The problem for most people is they hang out at the bottom of their waterfall after they have crashed, still stuck in a channel, stuck in a tide pool, because the water's coming down and creating this revolutionary effect, like an eddy. It's just spinning and spinning and spinning, and you get stuck in there. There's a waterfall in Bennington, and somehow a basketball washed over the fall, and it's been there for a month, just spinning in the water as it goes over. And it'll probably be there for a month more. And this is what happens to us. We identify ourselves with the negative thing. We identify ourselves with the crash, with the waterfall, with the breakdown, with the terrible thing that happened to us. And then we get stuck in the eddy of thought. We keep ruminating over that crash again and again and again, and we identify ourselves as it, without realizing that it's the whole channel that is us. Not just the one part, not just the crash. That water goes on to become many things, and that water starts somewhere. We start somewhere. We have initiating thoughts. There are initiating drops of rain that fall on mountaintops and trickle down into little rivulets, and then form streams, and then those form brooks, and they form rivers, and they have cascades and waterfalls, and becomes lakes and oceans, and there's a whole process, there's a whole flow. Our personality is the same way. Where do those thoughts originate? What are the triggers? What are the drops that create them? How do they precipitate? Rather than identifying ourselves with the negative thing, with the waterfall, the one that hurts us, we can also identify ourselves with the little drops of rain that fall, that initiate the entire process. And these are those little steps that I talk about. If you start back at the source and you focus on the little drops, if you focus on the little steps and precipitate one tiny step at a time, you've got a lot of options. Because the channels on top of the mountain aren't really fully formed yet. You can change. They may only be a millimeter deep. And if you drop enough in one direction, it's easy to change just a millimeter from one tiny channel to another, and now you're flowing in a completely different direction. Start at the source. Find the initiating thought, find the initiating trigger, and replace it with a tiny drop, a tiny movement, a tiny step in a better direction, in a more positive direction. It only takes a slight shift to move the entire river. Because if you move a little bit here, and a little bit more there, and a little bit more there, you can end up in a completely different country, in a completely different life.